This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. If you'd like to find out about the great programming we have available for you, 724-365 on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. Exonation, my guest this hour is Jodee Prouse, and she is the embattled woman's champion. She helps women recognize that they have the strength to transcend family trauma and the power to disengage from codependency with those family members who are at the heart of the drama. Her mission is to help women recognize that love is not the reason to engage, that taking care of oneself first is not a betrayal or selfish. Making the hardest choices may seem to be cruel or callous, but in fact are the healthier for all parties. Jodee spent more than 30 years seeking to protect a brother ultimately lost in alcoholism, giving so much it nearly cost her marriage and risked endangering her children's mental health. Her gripping and tragic story is told powerfully and honestly in her Amazon.com best-selling book, The Sun Is Gone, A Sister Lost in Secrets, Shame, and Addiction, and How I Broke Free. Joining me now is Jodee Prouse. And Jodee, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thanks, Rob. I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you, hon. Tell us a little bit about how this all came about.
Well, I think there's two answers to that. One, when I was going through it, we have alcoholism and so many branches in our family tree, and I never, ever expected it would happen to my younger brother. And so I started keeping notes, and I just thought this was an important story to tell the world. But as I'm so much older now, and as I really have worked hard to understand alcoholism and mental illness and what causes it, I've rewound all the way back to childhood and some of the things that happened to us that perhaps set the stage for what was to come.
Where does the title come from, The Sun Is Gone?
Well, you know, it's spelled S-U-N, as in the sun in the sky. And for so long, I thought this was such a dark story. And, you know, I was just lost in every aspect of it. But then I realized that it is a hopeful story offering hope for other people. But it really had two meanings for me. One is that hope for others, but also the fact that because I'd been looking after my little brother since he was 2 years old, I loved him like he was my own son. And that is one of the real reasons I think really propelled me to make such wrong decisions at the time of feeling responsible for his life.
Well, how much older are you than your brother?
I was 4 years older.
40 years older.
4 years.
4 years. I'm sorry. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So that's understandable because at 4 years of age, a little girl, she is into the beginning of her caring. And I can fully understand that because I know so many people who are ladies that feel the same way about their younger brothers.
Yeah, and I think, I don't want to dismiss the feelings that boys have and that men have. Mm-hmm. But I think with little girls specifically, I mean, if you look at boys, they're out playing with trucks and they're being really strong. And girls from 2 and 3 years old, they have more often than not a little doll under their arm, or they're pushing them around in little carriages. Yeah. And we're born with that instinct to look after others and look after others above our own needs. And with my brother, we came from an alcoholic home. There was fighting and violence and fleeing the house in the middle of the night when, he was 2 and I was 6. And so that really put that on my shoulders, that I really did feel responsible for that little boy that grew into a man.
All right, Jodee, stand by. You and I have to take our first break. Exo Nation, Jodee Prouse is our guest this hour. We're talking to Jodee about her book entitled The Sun Is Gone. Her website is www.jodeeprouse.com. That's JODEEPROUSSE.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you around the world right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network and our family of broadcast affiliates and satellite programming providers. And don't forget, X Zone Nation, on November the 15th, the X Zone channel goes live on Simul TV. We'll be back. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Is it science or is it magic? Once a magical thing has been scientifically proven, is it no longer magic? Or is magic simply the science of tomorrow? Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, on The Science of Magic, a syndicated radio program dedicated to combining the science and magic of today's dynamic and controversial topics to co-create new solutions. By triangulating information from today's leading experts from the scientific and magical fields, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truths you won't find anywhere else. Join us daily on the X Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, as I interview the shared thoughts with the amazing guests from both science and magic. The resulting knowledge is unprecedented. As a gift to you, the listener, past episodes can be accessed on our website free of charge at thescienceofmagic.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking to Jodee Prouse. She is the author of The Sun Is Gone, A Sister Lost in Secrets, Shame, and Addiction, and How I Broke Free. Her website is www.jodeeprouse.com. I was going through some of the reviews that people have given your book, and you've touched a lot of hearts, and I'm sure you're making positive difference in so many worlds and so many families. Did you expect your book to receive the accolades that it has?
Well, I didn't, and I'm so very proud. During my journey, I read about 30 other memoirs, and of course, most of the time they're written by the addict in recovery.
Yeah.
But I just thought, what about all of us? And us, I mean the loved ones, the lost families, the people that don't know what we're doing either. And so I wrote mine in a different way. I wanted to tell the whole story. And so it gives from the time, we're 2 and 6 until my 40s. I wanted to show the world what it's really like and how this can happen to someone. It isn't a choice, and it can happen to every family. And where I'm really touched is that people feel so alone. They feel that they can't talk about it. They're so ashamed. And I hope in some small way I'm giving people the courage to find their voice, because, shame keeps families sick, and everybody hiding.
Let's try and help our audience better understand the family dynamics that you were faced with. Can you tell us about your family, how many siblings, and what the family dynamics were?
Yeah, well, so my brother was 4 years younger than I, and we had a younger sister that was four years younger than him, so 8 years younger than myself, and then, our mother and father, and there was drinking that went on when we were young. But happily, my mother got us out of that situation when I was 9 years old, and we had a beautiful upbringing with a stepfather, but there was some residual effects to that. I mean, we know so much more about addiction now, that childhood trauma and or sexual abuse can lead to anxiety, depression, more severe mental health issues, and even alcohol and drug addiction later in life. And so looking back now, my brother did experience night terrors and anxiety really young, at like 8 years old. And so if he had gotten help for something like that. But, as our story progresses and this was really severe addiction from the time my brother was 28 for a 12-year period. And I think not unlike millions of families out there, we started turning on each other instead of staying aligned as a family. And it just caused that much more complication in this story. We all had so much to lose, but I think the one that had the most to lose, of course, was my addicted brother.
Why do you think your family members started turning on each other instead of banding together?
Well, I think the more I hear from other people, I think it happens so often. It's so stressful, and you don't know what to do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love sharing my story, because we're so focused on, the person is sick, the person that's addicted, that we don't realize that we also need help. That maybe perhaps too we're sick in our own way with some unhealthy patterns that are going on. And that certainly was the case with members of our family. And if I could rewind, that's what I would do different. I'd get help for myself first and listen to the advice of the professionals. And sometimes that isn't what your heart's telling you to do. Your heart's a very strong, powerful thing, and it leads you in a different direction.
What was it that happened in your brother's life to catapult him to severe alcoholism at the age of 28?
Well, like I said, I think knowing now, we're only as good as what, science tells us at the time. And sadly, when he had all the help that was offered to him, but they always said, just stop drinking, stop drinking, stop drinking. And I know now he had more severe mental health issues. He did experience anxiety and depression and had struggles with that. And I think, he started drinking innocently in high school when those kind of emotions started, like a lot of people do. And then it just really, really progressed. I think it's important to say, sadly, my brother did lose his battle in March of 2012. So it was a 12-year of just progressive severe alcoholism.
During those 12 years, what kind of help was sought for your brother by himself or other members of the family? Yeah,
he did. I went to counseling with him. He had counseling. He went to rehab 6 or 7 times. But that was from 2000 until 2012. Right. At the time, every rehab center was strictly for the drinking. I think he would have had much more chance of success if he had been in a place that also dealt with his mental health. That's an important component. But I'm always honest in saying it's still, even with that help, it would have been my brother that would have had to sort through the pain, do the hard work, and change. And I think that goes for other members of our family. There was definitely unhealthy patterns going on that wasn't supporting sobriety.
How did you find the strength then to disengage with your brother, Brad, and to stand strong against your mother and your sister, to break that family dynamic up?
Well, about halfway through, for 6 years, every minute of every day was consumed with saving my brother. And I was at the lowest point of my whole life in 2006. I couldn't get out of bed. I wasn't going to work. I had neglected my children, my husband, my job, my health. And, I finally went to therapy, and I said, you know what? I don't want to talk about Brett. I want to talk about what I need to do. And that was really the beginning of my understanding of childhood and why I'm behaving in a certain way. When my therapist just said, you're not responsible for their lives. Yeah. And he meant my brother, my mom, and my sister. And I just had always thought that I was. And I set a healthy boundary with my brother. And I would only see him if he embraced sobriety and was willing to get the help he needed. And so sadly, that meant to my mom and my sister, I was abandoning my family and deserting my brother. And again, I don't think it's unlike a lot of other families. We're so lost. It's a very painful road, which is why you need help.
How did all of this actually impact your family? Your personal family?
Yeah.
Your own family?
And that's so funny because people do. They use that family word all the time. And that's so true, because who ultimately are you responsible for? Who, your mom or your dad or your husband and my children. And that's where I was just so lost. I had let my own children witness things so far worse than I ever saw in my own childhood, even though my husband and I don't drink. And, that's one of my regrets through this. But it was a struggle for my family, for my sons. If my marriage wasn't so rock solid, we wouldn't have made it. It was very, very stressful, but luckily, we did. And I continue to get help even today, all these years later, because those are hard patterns to break. Things you learn when you're 2, 3, 5 years old. Those are very hard patterns to break, especially when you don't consciously know you're doing it.
Yeah. I had an uncle who was a real bad alcoholic. So I can understand where you're coming from, and I sympathize with you.
It runs in families.
It does.
I mean, I don't know the exact statistic, but it is generational. And that's why I'm such a huge believer in talking to young children. Like, don't wait until they're teenagers. It's just way, way too late. Start talking to your children so that they understand about your uncle, or they understand about grandpa, or my family understands about my brother, that you can talk about it in a respectful, kind, compassionate way so that this doesn't continue in our family.
But with all the peer pressure today and all the access to the electronic world and technological world that children at a very young age start getting involved with, are they apt to listen like they would have done years ago when there wasn't so much outside influence and so much peer pressure?
Oh, well, I agree. And that's why you can't lose conversation with your children, or we will be in even worse trouble 10 and 15 years from now. And before you have a teenager that is attached to their phone and attached to their electronics, have conversations with them about these things in your family. And, but why don't we? Yeah. I mean, no one ever came and said, Jodee, don't tell all these things. But I was sure made to believe that from a very early age. But I was just always different. I'm not ashamed. I do believe it's a disease.
Yes.
I do believe that, I had an uncle as well, and a stepfather, and a father, and a grandfather, and I have a nephew, and of course my brother, that all are alcoholics. And I say these things with compassion and love.
Yes.
And
you see, Jodee, before I came into the world of broadcasting, or while at the very start, I was a police officer, so I've seen the horrific results of alcoholism, whether it's drunk, impaired, physical, mental abuse in the family, of the abuse of children, and it is an ugly world, and it has to be brought out of the closet. And people and society need to know that, hey, it is a sickness. It has to be treated. We cannot hide it anymore. We need to get the resources. We need to get the professionals to help, because so many people are suffering.
Oh, it's only getting worse.
It is.
And I totally agree with you. I mean, education has never been better and more available, and yet the problem's getting worse. The statistic just came out last week. 1 in 8 Americans suffer with substance use disorder. I mean, that's extremely scary, and that's why I wrote my book in a certain way that you can read what really happens and how it can happen, but it also is intertwined with things that will help you.
All right, let's talk more about how this can help, but I must tell you something, Jodee. In my book, you're a crusader, and my hat is off to you.
Thank you so much.
We need more people like you, Jodee, who take a positive stance and say, this is what happens. I know, and I want to help you. So thank you for doing the great things you're doing.
Thank you.
You stand by, sweetheart. Exonation, Jodee Prouse is our special guest. She is the author of a book that if you know somebody who fits what we're going to be talking about this hour, please. The name of the book is The Sun Is Gone. And Jodee and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to find out more about Jodee, visit her website, jodeeprouse.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We'll be back after this news break. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Ancient prophecies, legends, and current events indicate we're entering a high-frequency era supporting enlightenment. During expansive times, old rules fail, necessitating access to the ever-shifting currents of life for guidance. There's an ancient form of shamanism through which we can obtain the information we need. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Art School, with a great new provision for those interested in spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Galactic Shamanism, Art of the Ancients, Key to Tomorrow, is an upcoming series of leading-edge online affordable classes designed to guide and support you and your family during these times of transition. Embrace the magic. Empower your life. Study Galactic Shamanism at findyourpathhome.com.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Jodee Prouse is our special guest, and Jodee and I were chatting during the commercial break with the news that we're just coming back from, and I don't understand the youth of today. Maybe that's because I'm old. You know, I'm not old. Like, you know, I've been doing this show for 26 years, and then I was a cop before then, so you kind of do the math, you know. No, I'm not in a wheelchair. Thanks, Craig. It's hard for me to understand why people do not communicate, why people do not open their eyes and see what is in front of them. And instead of playing with your iPads or your electronic or technological gadgets, take an interest in the people around you. It's sad to see people in a restaurant, a family in a restaurant. This happened last week. Laura and I went out for supper to Swiss Chalet, and 2 booths down were a family of 5, a nice family. And instead of talking to each other, they were playing with their electronic gizmos, and what a waste. What a waste. So how do we turn the tides here, my dear friend?
Well, and that's the thing. Still, as parents, I hope you still can tell your children to put their phones away. And I know you were sharing that you shared all the meals with your children, and that's how they were raised. And that's so important to have communication and to talk about your day and to have that dialogue. We had the same thing in our family. You know, luckily for us, I mean, our kids now are 24 and 26. And so when they were teenagers, they didn't have iPhones and been texting all the time. But I would like to think that if it was today that I was raising them, no, the phones get put away at dinner time.
You know,
and we're going to talk.
You know, and I believe, having had the opportunity of speaking to you, that you would do that. And that the family is only as strong as the parents. The family unit is only as strong as the parents want that family unit to be. And I think, from my heart of hearts, that you would be the leader and say, hey, put those down. What we do here in our home, when you walk into our house, on the right-hand side is a basket. And that's where visitors put their cell phones when they come to our house.
I love it. I love it that more people should do that because we think, you know, the world's in a bad place now. I can't even imagine, unless we make some changes, what is going to happen in the future.
I have a lot of hope for the future because of people like you and other people that I have the pleasure of meeting on a daily basis. I really believe that no matter how screwed up this world of ours seems to be, it will work out because there are people who care. And once again, my hat is off to you for certainly doing your part.
Thank you. And you know, that's what I hope to do is to take a story that at first glance doesn't have a happy ending, but I think it can for others. Yeah. And I think it can for even my own family, for, you know, my nieces and my own sons, my own grandchildren someday.
Yeah. So why do you feel women must be the fixers then, the caretakers, and to the detriment of themselves in many cases? Why do you think this?
Yeah, and I think now I don't believe we have to be. I think we're just raised that way. I think it's in our DNA. I think it's in our nature. And I think when we say no, we feel so completely guilty and we feel like failures. And we feel like that's a pressure we put on ourselves. But I think it's a pressure that families and societies put on us. And it's so wrong. You know, I should have said no to my brother long before I did. I know now I was enabling him in some ways. And I just really think sometimes the word no can be the most compassionate gift we can give our loved one. And the best thing for ourselves at the same time. Don't feel guilty when you have to draw that line.
So how do you break away from these old patterns that are inherent and maybe actually are part of our DNA? How do we change it?
Well, for me, it took a great amount of work, and I'm very blessed in the fact that I always say I can afford private therapy, but not everybody can. But there are books out there. You can read books. You can go on the internet. You can read articles. And if you see yourself, you really do need courage and strength, I think, to come to terms with your own truth and with really understanding the things that have happened to you in your life and why you behave in a certain way. And I worked really, really hard to understand that for myself. I mean, I said I had other family members that were so angry at me, some of which are angry still today.
Why would they be angry at you?
I think when not everybody sees things the same way, or, when you do have a loved one that isn't getting well, people start fighting. And I think with us, some people lost focus of the problem, and the problem was always alcohol. And so instead of changing some of those things, it's easier to blame others. And I don't come from a place of blame. I've moved free from all of those unhealthy emotions.
How do you find that the families of today, in this kind of very strange society? No, let me rephrase the question. How can we get the attention of those who have drinking problems or a dependency on drugs, whether they be prescription or not? When in today's society, you turn on the television and bang, you've got these ads. Bang, you go to a sporting event. All these sporting events are sponsored by most of them are sponsored by the manufacturers of alcohol. The sporting industry. How do we change it? How do we say, look, this is not the way to go when alcohol, tobacco, and what we consider to be the evils of society are actually glorified and promoted?
Oh, they are. And it looks so fun and exciting, and that's the problem. So that's where it comes in for me, that I believe talking to our young children. I mean young. I mean 4, 5, 6 years old. Now, of course, you can't explain everything.
Right.
But as they get older, you start talking more and more, and to make them very much aware about the dangers. I am not against drinking. My own grown sons drink, and we raise them to know that they probably would. But they respect it, and they know the dangers of it, and they certainly know that it runs in our family. And so they really need to have their eyes that much more wide open when they drink. And I think then there'll be real change. And another change, I think that, we do hear it in hospitals. You're judged by doctors and nurses, and you see in the media people make fun of those that are addicted, and journalists sometimes. Right?
Yes.
All those things with these negative, no wonder people that are addicted are hiding in shame. But if we raise our children to really believe it's a disease, they're going to grow up and be better doctors and nurses and psychiatrists and therapists and those in the media. I think that will finally see real change.
Do you think that the negative aspect of alcohol and prescribed drugs or any other kind of drug should be taught in schools?
Oh, absolutely. And, we do hear the campaigns of don't do drugs. We need to add respect alcohol to that. That certainly has to be something that is done. It should be taught in schools. And but it's like, I think with my own family, if I think back to everything that went on with my brother, families rely too much, I think, on the help from the doctors and the therapists and the rehab centers. I think those are just tools to help us in this life. I think it's our responsibility to do all the hard work. And I think that sometimes gets lost. People blame, when it doesn't work out, people tend to blame the healthcare professionals. And I know that's not perfect either, but I think the family needs to take a little bit more responsibility as well.
How do we define enabling and codependency? Because these are two of the major words that we find when it comes to abuse.
Oh, and when I tell you I was lost, I never gave my brother money. I never made excuses for him. I never paid his rent. And I'll say all those things were going on. So I didn't think I was enabling at all. But what I would find out as I was doing other things, he was losing his job and I was paying his therapy. I thought that was support. I was helping him move, even though it was bad for his recovery. So I did learn I was enabling in different ways. I didn't even know what codependency was. You have to think, I was going to all of his appointments. I thought I had this. I thought I understood. Until, of course, I hit my wall. And then I realized, codependency is, one-sided relationships, a people pleaser, poor boundaries, a caretaker of others, and someone that sacrifices their own needs to help someone else.
Fascinating. But these are all things that people need to be taught. It doesn't come in a classroom that you have to take.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I say I would get help for myself first from the very beginning. If you have, or someone that you love is struggling with addiction or mental illness, that you do need help. We're all lost in a world that we don't understand. How would we know any of these things? And so the things we're doing to help, they are coming out of a place of love. Everything I did for my brother came out of a place of love. Everything my mom did and my sister did. I acknowledge that. But we were lost. We all needed help.
But when you love someone and you believe in your heart of hearts that you are doing the best for them, how can you later on say, you know what, I shouldn't have done that? Because at the time, you were doing what you honestly believed was the right thing. You weren't doing it out of malice. You were doing it out of love.
Absolutely. But I think the part is understanding that those things sometimes can help somebody on their path of destruction.
Gotcha.
And so when you figure those things out, to find the strength to finally do what's right. And, for me, it was no longer doing those enabling patterns and really giving my brother only one option, and that was sobriety. And, of course, I love what you said because it didn't come from a place of people feeling guilty.
Yeah.
And regret and guilt are not the same thing. Of course I have regrets. I wish I would have done some things different. I mean, if my brother was here, he'd be the first to tell you he would have regrets. Yeah. But when you're every minute of every day, your loved one could die. And that is what propels you, I think, a lot of times to make poor choices.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our final break. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Jodee Prouse and I return. Don't go away.
The Earth is under ever-increasing pressure from untenable lifestyles and growing populations. Yet, viable answers seem in short supply. What if I told you there's an ancient form that can empower you to take charge of your life? What if your entire family could be enfolded and supported by life itself? finding safe passage through challenging times. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Art School, with great news: an upcoming series of leading-edge online affordable classes based in an ancient form of shamanism, easily learned and used by your entire family. Galactic Shamanism, Art of the Ancients, Key to Tomorrow are a series of online adult and children's lessons instructing your entire family on natural law, how to cooperate with and be supported by the powers of the universe. Visit findyourpathhome.com to find these unique and powerful classes.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Are you curious? Do you want to learn more about how the world works and have fun at the same time? Study coincidences with me, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on my Connecting with Coincidence radio show, here on the XZBN network. Listen to Jungians theorize, statisticians randomize, true believers evangelize, while I categorize. I dance to the rhythm of coincidences. People who experience me see more of them. Maybe something on the show matches a thought in your mind. Let us know. Expand your mind to the weirdness happening around you. Synchronicity spoken here, there, and everywhere. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence in your search engine and find my website, my social media sites, and my blog.
What is truth? Historically, we viewed things as either being true or false. Now, as we enter a more expansive era, we find the question is not, is it true, but rather, how true is it? I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of the Science of Magic Radio, a syndicated, internationally broadcast radio program dedicated to uncovering this ever-expanding truth. Join me daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, as I interview today's leading experts from the fields of science and magic to uncover the hidden truth between the lines drawn in the sand. What we unearth in our discussions is not only amazing, but totally unprecedented. You won't want to miss a single episode. In service to our listeners, past episodes can always be found on our website with our compliments at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Jodee Prouse is our special guest this hour, and Jodee is the author of The Sun Is Gone, and Sun is spelled S-U-N. The Sun Is Gone, a sister lost in secrets, shame, and addiction, and how I broke free. Her website is www.jodeeprouse.com. First of all, Jodee, thank you so much for being a guest on the show tonight, and thank you for your book. Thank you for the light that you're bringing to a lot of people who, at the end of their tunnel, up until the time they have read your book, was black. But thanks to you, there's light that's appearing at the end of that tunnel. So thank you for them.
Oh, thank you, Rob.
You say keeping family secrets is one of the biggest factors in family trauma. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think, when my brother was going through just even the early stages, the beginning, the middle, and the end, he didn't remember the being scared and fearful and being hysterical in the middle of the night and me crawling down into his bunk bed and whispering in his ear, "It's okay," and fleeing in the middle of the night. But I think he felt those feelings later in life. And I never said anything because I didn't think it had anything to do with the story. I didn't think it had anything to do with his alcoholism. I didn't want to disrespect my parents. But knowing now that childhood trauma can lead to mental illness and addiction, I just feel if I had said something back then, this could have made a difference in our story. And that's what I try to tell other people. The trauma isn't the reason for all people, of course, to become addicts and drug addicts and alcoholics. But I think for people that are chronically relapsing and just can't seem to get well, for families to really find the strength to tell the truth, and if something has happened, for someone to speak up and say, "Hey, could this be part of the puzzle?" Because it is a puzzle. There is no easy answer. It is a long journey, and I just wish that I had known, and I would have spoken up really early on.
Well, let me ask you this question, and this may be a very hard question for you to answer, but if you had to do it over again, how would you handle things differently?
I would still 100% be there to support my brother, but I would do it in a more healthy, positive way. I would talk about our early childhood. I would share all that with him, that these things had happened, and that although he didn't remember, maybe it affected him and he didn't realize it. I would also stand up, I think, more to my mom and tell her I love her very, very much, but that all these things are not my responsibility, that you can't save somebody else. And, I've learned a lot about myself on this journey.
What has been the biggest lesson that you've learned on the journey?
Just that the only person I can control is myself. I can't even, my own sons. I have raised them the best way I knew how. I have said sorry for the mistakes I've made, because I certainly am not perfect, and I've done things I wish I hadn't done. But I've given them the proper tools. But what they do with that is on them. And I see that now so much clearer, that I'm just responsible for me.
How was the book a promise you upheld to your brother?
He knew I was writing it, and we went for a beautiful walk in 2009. I hadn't seen him, I think, for a couple years, but he was sober, and we took our dogs for a walk, and he asked me how it was going. And I told him I'd stopped writing. I said, no one wants a lesson. They want an inspiration. And he said, "I promise, Jodee, I'll be an inspiration. You have to keep writing." And so I'm the first to say, my brother was in extreme denial. He didn't think it was so bad, and he did think it was going to have a happy ending. But I think it does. I think if you see yourself in our pages, if you're any of the characters, find the strength to change. It's never too late. And so I hope he does inspire others to get the help they need. And I think he'd be very proud.
What can society do to get rid of the stigma that is attached to alcoholism and other dependencies?
Well, I think people need to start, and they don't do it on purpose, but you do see it in the media of, you see talk show hosts making fun of addiction. And, why is that okay? Or, I haven't had a drink of alcohol in 25 years. Mm-hmm. And when I go somewhere, like to a wedding, if I don't know people, and I say I don't drink, people still, the reaction, it is like, you don't drink? Why? What's wrong with you? And why would something have to be wrong with me? I just think to make other people more aware of how they respond. And you should be proud of somebody if they say, hey, you know what? I choose to not drink for whatever reason. That's person, right. It's something to be admired because it is exceptionally hard.
Plus, you made a decision. And
absolutely.
It's up to, I believe, hey, if this is your decision, I'll support it. I'm not going to force you to do something that you don't want to do. It's just like trying to get a vegetarian to have a hamburger. You don't do that. It's called respect.
Absolutely, but I've witnessed it too with, alcoholics and I'm 30 days sober, and their friends are, oh, come on, you can have just one, or it's like it's a game to get them to have a drink, and it's like, why would you do that? And I think people don't know it can be extremely destructive, and even death.
Well,
for some people.
This is what they're doing. They're playing with. It's a life and death game that they're playing. When you try to entice someone who has decided not to drink for one reason or another, or recovering alcoholic, or somebody who is in the process of going through the steps with AA. This is a life and death thing. It's nothing to be played with. It's to be respected. It's to be honored. Because
and
if you
encouraged.
Exactly.
And especially when a lot of those people are suffering low self-esteem. They feel ashamed already. Yeah. They're struggling, and they just want to fit in. And you need to put your arms around them and say, hey, you know what? Good for you for wanting to live a sober life.
It's just like we're seeing with the transgenders, the people who are mixed up, confused about their sexuality. Don't make fun of them. Try to understand. Put yourself in their shoes. Respect their decisions. Isn't that what life is about, or should be about, is respecting others?
Yeah, instead of beating them up and shaming them and making them feel less than human. And
do you know what I think the real reason is that people do that? It's because they do not have the ability, the power to do what that person is doing.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
It's sad, but it's true. And by the way, I agree with you about the media. The media these days are a joke. They make fun of very serious issues, and they get ratings based on disasters. Based on, my gosh, look at all the media coverage over the massacre in Las Vegas this weekend. And before that, it was the storms. Instead of putting something positive, it's negative.
Absolutely. And even someone like myself who tries to get mainstream media to talk about even my story and my book, no, they're not interested. And you're absolutely right. We need to add some happiness in there and some hope and all those things instead of just all the bad.
But you see, that's what you're doing. And this is why I call you a crusader. And I'm telling you something. I am really happy that you came on our show tonight. And I'm proud to say that we had the ability and the opportunity of letting the world know tonight about you, about your book, and about there being a crusader who wants to do something positive in a world that is situated and plagued with a lot of negativity. So, Jodee, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. And when you get my email, send me that information back.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for everything. We said it before. Conversation changes lives.
That's right. And I thank you again, and please, my very best to your family.
You as well.
Take care, Jodee. XO Nation, a wonderful lady, great story. The name of the book is The Sun Is Gone. Her name is Jodee Prouse. And to find out more about Jodee, go to www.jodeeprouse.com. That's JODEEPROUSSE.com. Christmas is coming around the corner, XO Nation. This would be an ideal book to give to someone who you love, who may have a problem that this book can put a light on. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like, send me an email, xzone@xzoneradio.tv. You can check us out on all the social media sites, xzoneradiotv.com. And to get your free download of the X Chronicles newspaper, www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com.